course, he had Troy Aikman. He did not have Roger Staubach. To be clear, that's before the Jerry Jones time. Your thoughts on that comment?
But he knows who Roger Staubach is.
And in general, your thoughts on that comment and in general on the role the quarterback will have to play on a team we think has an elite defense.
So what?
So what? What?
We not give a damn about your leadership trophy. Man, go with we talking about trying to win a Super Bowl, all right? Great. You think Dak the greatest leader, whatever. I'm sure Troy had to be a great leader. They won 3 of them. Like, all of that. Romo was a good leader, all right? I don't know how to compare these guys' leadership. Jared, to your point, just saying something.
Yeah.
What the hell that got to do with anything we talking about right now? Dak has been regarded as a high-level leader since he was at Mississippi State. I was in the SEC, on the SEC network, working at SEC Nation. I had a chance to meet Dak, talk to all of his coaches. The year that they won 11 games at Mississippi State and was ranked top 5, went to the Orange Bowl, I believe, with Dan Mullen. Everybody talked about Dak's leadership ability. Is it an important aspect of playing quarterback? Yes. You have to have some level of leadership to play it. But why are we talking about that right now? Like, I don't care about that. All I care about is when Dak get in big games, how are you going to play? And how are you going to play when your team needs you to elevate everybody else around?
When we saw what that defense did the other night,
yes.
Would you, if I make the following statement, what is your reaction? If Dak Prescott plays as well as we've seen him play at times in the past, that's the Super Bowl favorite in the NFC.
Not yet, because I haven't seen Dak play in those times.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely the answer is yes. If he plays as well as we've seen him play, he's had some incredible games. Yeah, this is a Super Bowl contender.
I don't mean every single game is his best game.
You mean
I mean, if Dak plays the way we think he should play.
Yeah, of course.
Sure,
If Dak Prescott is not the guy who last year threw away a playoff game against San Francisco.
that is, I was thinking, well, he ain't showed up yet in them situations. Oh, I got you.
It's week after week in the playoff round because it's not like he didn't black out the first playoff game against Tampa. So, like, he has the ability. And just in that second game, the defense played incredibly well. But your quarterback is going to have to make 1 or 2 mind-blowing plays at some point in the course of a playoff run. You're going to have some moments no matter how good your defense is. And Dak has had those moments, but he hasn't had enough of them. And you can go back all the way through his career. He's not like he's incompetent in the playoffs. Just sometimes you got to be great. He hasn't done that yet.
Dak is a really good quarterback.
This is what gets me about the Dak conversation all the time. People always qualify like, it's not that he's a scrub. It's not that he's not a good, decent, he's not bad, he's not terrible. The kid is a good quarterback. To your point, show up in big games. That's it. Making the playoffs isn't enough. Winning in the wild card run isn't enough. It's NFC Championship game. That's the benchmark. Like, that's baseline. They have a roster that can win a Super Bowl. But forget the Eagles for a second. Forget about the 49ers. The Cowboys' biggest issue all the time is themselves. It's not the opposite. I don't know whatever will go wrong with the Cowboys. And this might be the year. Marcus, this might be the year. Because if it's not...
I'm not doing this with you.
If it's not, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to be their time. I really don't.
I'm going to ride the roller coaster.
Not yet. I agree. Not yet. Come see me after November 5th when Dallas goes into Philadelphia and Dak plays against Jalen for the first time where their matchup is one-on-one with the two of them. Come see me then. And then I'll make that decision. That's that's the benchmark for the Dallas Cowboys. People want to move ahead to January and February. I'm just saying November 5th in South Philly, concrete jungle. Let me see what you got.
To be clear, those teams played each other last year, but neither quarterback played both games.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Dak didn't play the game that the Cowboys lost, and Hurts didn't play the other game.
Remember when Jerry was saying he wished he had a quarterback controversy last year?
Yes.
We don't listen to Jerry.
No, that's what I'm point.
But here's the thing, G. Like, the Dak conversation is this. And I said it, remember we were talking about, it's the moments for me. Yeah. The whole year. I don't care about, like, Dak is going to play well. He's going to play well. I don't think he's going to be a turnover machine like he was last year. That's not in his DNA. It hadn't been him before that season. The bottom line is this. You earn the right to be judged a certain way based on what you do when all the chips on the line. Yeah. Like, all of this other stuff It's pointless.
Fair. But to the point that Sal was just making, there is a lot of time between now and January. And there are things like...
He'll play well enough to get to that.
But what he can do is win the division.
Yeah,
what he can do is get a first-round bye. Those things matter.
No, none of that matters for the Dak conversation, though.
But it helps. If they're trying to get to the Super Bowl, it helps a lot.
To get a Super Bowl. I think that he has reached the ceiling that you can reach without getting deep into the playoffs, without getting to the Super Bowl. He's at that ceiling. So no matter what he does through the course of the season, we all know he's among the best quarterbacks in football. We see it time after time. The stats show it. The games show it. But for us to accept him and talk about him in the conversation with the top of the league, he's going to have games that are memorable in the postseason. He's going to have big wins against top-tier opponents, league game-winning drives at the end of those games.
That's it.
He has to do that for us to talk about him like that, because the other people, his peers, they doing that.
They're doing that. Like that's what it boils down to. That's what it boils down to.
Going to be you made the point earlier, there's always scrutiny on the star, and I think that there's a degree of that going on here as well. Let's put the specifics aside, okay? Because we sat here earlier, we yelled at each other a lot. Kmart gave me the kind of look that made me actually need to do this. Let's ask us, do the Jets need to go out and find a quarterback that they are expecting to play, not someone who can sit and back up Zach Wilson? They have to do that because they don't have a backup quarterback. But should they be trying to get someone with the intention of that person being the one who leads them wherever it is they can go?
Yes, they do. And I think that guy is Taylor Heineke. Look, the Jets are looking for 3 to 4 more wins on the season. Right.
Than they got last year.
It was 7, I believe.
Yes, they were 7 and 10.
7 and 10 last year, right? And you look at a team, we're not talking about elevating you now to the Super Bowl. We're talking about getting in the dance. If you find somebody that can get you in the dance, we know it starts new. It starts anew, and it's a 3-hour day that you have where you can try to outsmart or be better than the next team, which is very difficult in the AFC. With Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and all of these guys that we think that are potentially going to be in the playoffs you have to face. But if you see that a guy can come in and give you maybe 10 wins with this defense and this running game and get you into the playoffs, it starts anew. I think Jets fans will be okay with it.
But it makes me feel like what you're saying is that they can't do that with Zach Wilson.
Based on what I've seen from Zach Wilson, no. No.
I can't disagree.
Yeah,
I agree with literally, whether it's Heineke or somebody else, your general point I agree with.
But until they do that, they need to figure out how to do it with Zach Wilson. If they get somebody today, they're not going to be ready or interested in starting behind his own line against the Dallas Cowboys. So until then, Nathaniel Hackett, some people think they brought you here just so Aaron Rodgers would come. Now you need to prove that you have some sort of offensive mind and find a way to optimize the situation. We don't need a ton of plays from you. You can run. You need to scheme up a couple big plays, a couple third down conversions. The defense is going to keep you in it, maybe create a turnover, and leave this game with some confidence.
So earlier this morning, I made a variety of suggestions.
Yes.
Kmart, you seemed quite frustrated with them. And so I'm just going to, what do you think they should do?
Honestly, no. Because there are no great options. I understand the Tom Brady. I understand the Stafford. I'm actually surprised that you would go to Taylor Heineke, and we talked about Jacoby Brissett, but not Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins ain't
Do we think Minnesota's going to give up Kirk Cousins?
No, but here, he's playing on his last year. He's playing on his last year contract, the last year of his contract. I'm just curious. But here's the thing here.
If they fall out of it, do you think that Kirk Cousins could become available? Let's say they lose 2-3 more games. Right now they're 0-1. They made the playoffs last year.
I think if you have a quarterback and you believe he's your guy, you don't let him go into a season with just this is the last year of the deal. You would re-up him. So I don't know what Kirk's future is in Minnesota. It would be interesting. We got to see how the season plays out. But if you're the Jets, Greeny, there are no great options right now because this is a win-now team who banked on having a chance to win the Super Bowl. And what we've come up with at this table is a variety of Jacoby Brissett to Nick Foles to Matt Ryan out the booth. Like, it's not good. And what I can tell you is internally, they understand, like, we have this kid, whether anybody else believes it or not. They are trying to build this kid up mentally to say, we believe in you. I don't know if it'll work, but all the unknowns, we have seen Taylor Heineke, we have seen Jacoby Brissett, we've seen other teams have those guys and say, we would rather have somebody else be our guy.
They all play better than Zach Wilson.
That is fair, but that is a fair point. But the Jets have Zach Wilson at least for this week.
What do you think, Sal?
I like the Taylor Heineke idea. I think you have to have somewhat of a dual threat quarterback, somebody who can move a little bit. Taylor Heineke does have athletic traits. We've seen him move out of the pocket and also take off and run. He's got some speed.
He is not afraid, boy. He is not afraid.
Yeah. So I like.
And you brought up Nick Foles earlier.
Well, I like
and
Nick. I like
Foles
Nick
comes in
Foles.
as a backup, and then you see what happens.
I like Nick Foles for a very specific reason. He has that story to tell. He's been there before. Players like playing with Nick Foles. They do. And God bless Nick Foles, okay?
Right.
Nick Foles saved the season.
In Philly.
In week 11, okay, when Carson Wentz went down, and Frank Reich and Doug Peterson had to change the offense on the fly. And remember, they were underdogs throughout the playoffs and won the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick when Brady had the best day of his Super Bowl life. Nick Foles can perform in pressure situations. That was 5 years ago. I understand that. I think the reason why you look at Jacoby Brissett, again, he has dual threat traits still, and he can move. Why Nick Foles? Well, run pass option, ball comes out very quickly. You can play spread offense with Nick Foles.
You know who's probably happy about not having the attention on them right now is that offensive line.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these situations that we're talking about, Nick Foles succeeded in Philly. That offensive line was really good.
Right.
Think of putting Tom Brady behind the Tampa Bay line. That offensive line was really good.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers, we didn't see what he could do behind this offensive line. That is not very good. But all these quarterbacks that we're bringing in, we're going to judge those quarterbacks on how they perform. But how they perform is going to be dependent on how that offensive line protects. No quarterback is good under pressure. They might have Garrett Wilson. They might have Breece Hall. That don't mean nothing if the guy can't stand back there and survey the field. These guys are not those type of players.
So let me sum it up. Let me sum it up with this. What's the ceiling? Knowing what we know now,
we're not
who the
looking at
options
ceilings
are in
right
Zach
now.
Wilson. No. What is the Jets' ceiling this season? The ceiling was the Super Bowl Monday morning.
They're not in a position to be thinking about this.
No.
I pointed this out to you
We
earlier.
are, though.
I don't think so. We need to find out. We need to keep the lights on.
I'm
week
going to
week.
talk about what I know now. And what I know now is they ain't going to the playoffs with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
I didn't want to say
he
it to
may
him.
be better.
You gonna say it
And
to him?
I hope he's better. Look, again, I feel terrible for the kid. I feel absolutely horrible for Zach Wilson. And people, well, he in the NFL. They took him number 2 overall. There was a plan for Zach Wilson to watch Aaron Rodgers for at least 1 or 2 years until he was ready to play.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.